Panel discussion. We had one last year again. And we are back with a bigger room. Yay! We have our lovely panelists here. Give them another round of applause. And including women in the TTRPG space. Woo! Okay, so this panel discussion has been organized by the Women of TTRPG. I am part of it. Jan is a part of it. Zoe, who is outside waiting for our final panelist, is also the co-founder. The Women of TTRPG is a volunteer project celebrating and lifting all women in the TTRPG community and the larger industry. We are trying to build a diverse and inclusive community together.
Yeah!
And we can start off with introducing each panelist, introducing themselves. Who are you? Why are you here? No pressure.
Hi everyone, my name is Danii, pronouns. Pronouns she, her, and self-proclaimed chaos nerd. I am a model maker and prosthetic artist. Some of my recent projects have included He-Man Masters of the Universe, Rings of Power Season 3, and I work with an amazing company on a short animated film called Two Black Boys in Paradise, which won a BAFTA earlier this year. I'm also an actual play performer for a group called the Mystic Muses, and we are a queer, diverse, femme-presenting table, and we got nominated for a Crit Award last year.
Hi, I'm Michelle Kelly, my pronouns are she, her, and I think I'm here because I got lost on the way to the Open Gaming. I said, you're a woman, come and sit down. So I'm a game designer, I'm an actual play performer, I'm also an actual play producer with Euphoria Actual Plays, which is great. Yeah, we're great. We're a studio that is committed to uplifting the talent and diversity of the European and UK actual play and TTRPG scene. Just look at all these cool people who are making cool stuff who are here this weekend. We're here to celebrate them. And yeah, I'm also just sort of a renegade who gets all over the place, so that's me.
I'm also Moss. Hello, I'm Steph. I'm one half of Fiscal Crits, pronouns she, her. I am a game designer, artist, illustrator, print company owner. I yap a lot, which is why I think a lot of people in the room might know me. I was invited to be on the panel to come and talk and be ranty with some opinions. So thank you for having us.
We do like opinions, yes.
I'm a fan.
It looks like we're still waiting, but we can start off with our first question. So, panelists, how did you first get into TTRPGs, and when did you take that leap into creating in the TTRPG space? Who wants to go first?
I can only function socially when there's like a structured social event. So TTRPGs just really suited me as a way to be a theatre kid and have fun with people and meet people. I started off just with my friends, and then I realized, hey, there are people who do this and like make podcasts, and I can listen to other people play games, and I can learn about other different systems by hearing them play and watching them play. I want to do that. So I kind of just started looking into actual play, and actual play was what brought me into the TTRPG scene in a big way, introduced me to the systems that I love and all the people that I love who are making amazing content. And then I ended up playing so many games that I was like, I reckon I could write one of these, and then I did. And no one has stopped me yet. And that's essentially what happened, is, you know, I felt like trying it, and I did, and I found a loving community and so much fun and creativity that I'm now just hooked. And that's it.
So I had quite a vigorous background in performing arts as a child, and my safe haven, the thing that I would do whenever I had any spare time, was play video games. What I did to blow off steam, and I loved it so much. I literally fell out of the womb and my uncle handed me a Game Boy and it was just so started off with the classics, Plunk, Mousetrap, Monopoly, like we played a lot of board games, and he took me to my first convention, which was a PS2 convention, which I feel like is showing my age a bit. So did that, it was very family orientated, and then as time passed, got very much into RPGs, and my friend Sam said to me, you're a big nerd, you love fantasy, you love RPGs, have you heard of D&D? No, what's this? He said, let me show you. So we ran a little one-shot, just he and I. It was 2E, and I ran in gung-ho, thinking I knew what I was doing, and died like so quickly. So it was short-lived, but I had the most amazing time, and that's what kind of sparked this love. And I didn't have loads of people around me that played D&D, so it tended to be one-shots here and there when I could, played a campaign at uni, and then a wonderful friend of mine, Asta, we played some one-shots together, and I kind of got into Critical Role around that point, like watching people and just trying to soak up as much as I could when I wasn't able to play. And she approached me about creating an NAP. She'd had experience doing this, and we kind of spoken about the fact that we wanted to feel seen and create spaces for femme-presenting women and diversity, and that's kind of where that came about.
So I grew up in Saudi Arabia, and so didn't have a lot of access to TTRPG material. So I came back to the UK, started playing D&D in college, and I think I'm looking a lot for women in the room would understand that was not a great experience. And so I fell off the sort of TTRPG wagon, went back out to Saudi because I like to do this. And came across like Friends at the Table, which is an actual play podcast run by Austin Walker and his friends. He's my absolute favourite show. And was like, oh, you can tell stories, and like, I love stories. I'm a big book person. I love video games, like blowing up Steam. My dad and I have been collecting Pokemon cards since I was like this big. So I was like, this fits the nerd agenda. I could get into this. And then a couple of years ago, I kind of burned out of a graphic design job where I was doing like licensed work, which included Wizards. Horrific. And my friend Logan said, look, I run a print company, come and work with me, and you can make stuff. We can do like TTRPG stuff. Because at that time, I got back into like running games. And I haven't shut up since. I just make a lot of games all the time. It's really good. People find them good, and so I'm just sort of doing that now. I don't get into actual play. I really love it. I'm a big fan of like Euphoria, particularly. I'm in community games too every week. Represent. I would love to get into these because I meet so many talented storytellers through that medium. So yeah, I love games. I love the people that play games. It's great to see a load of adults kind of leaning into mass hallucination. That's basically what it is, but with rules. So yeah, that's it.
Steph, you're being humble. You have done an AP of your game with me,
I
and
did
you were
do
great.
that. I did
Do you
do
want
that.
to check it out on
Yeah.
your Warriors channel on
I
YouTube?
think I just disassociated things.
You did a great job.
Because I run a lot of games, but they were like, camera, and I was like, oh. Okay, yes. Yeah, you are correct. I stand corrected. Or
I'm correct, she nailed it.
And on behalf of the entire industry, please do not shut up. Anyone who is a marginalized person in the community, do not shut up. Because you will be accepted, and like Michelle said, nobody will stop you.
I would like to say, so I've been wanting to give back to the community a little bit, because I know when you're marginalised or you're new, it's really difficult to know how to get into TTRPGs. So I've opened up like mentorships, but also you can just DM me. I'm more than happy to offer advice, look over your game, have a chat, like print stuff, which is a mystery Logan and I can help with. We really want to make it accessible at the grassroots level, particularly for marginalised creators, because that's already harder than everyone else. So I'm Fistful Crits, you can just email me, you can sort something out.
Perfect. Welcome.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Apologies for the lateness. I had an issue getting off my stall, which is that phrasing. My name is Kayla Dice. I am a writer, designer, artist. I release my work under the label of Ratwave Game House. I'm also a comedian and a former teacher, amongst other things. So I've created games like Psycho Dungeon or Out of the Fold, and I'm tabling in all three.
Yes. And Kayla, how did you first get into TTRPGs, and when did you take a leap into creating in the space?
Yeah, so my backstory is in 2018 I went along to a meetup group called the London Indie Meet. I think it meant to be a London Indie RPG Games. There's lots of like indie group meets in certain major cities. I think it's an offshoot of one that started in Edinburgh, and there's ones around. So I got taken along there by a friend, and so the first sort of games I played were things I think like Monster Hearts and some GMless stuff. And so then I guess I played casually and paid a bit of attention. And it was around the end of 2020 when I ended up sort of just writing some things and releasing them on each as part of game jams, essentially to distract just sort of occupy my thoughts from like other stuff I had going on that was very difficult. And then, you know, from there it just sort of became doing it more and more often, and then I guess I found it a vehicle of artistic expression that I continue to remain interested enough in trying to innovate on.
So how does community play a factor in your work that you do in the space, or in your experience in the TTRPG space?
We're all too polite. This is a very femme panel. We're all like, community is everything.
Yeah.
Community is everything, especially when you're a marginalized person in a space which can be seen from the outside as not being welcome to you. When you find your community, you can realize, I am welcome here and I deserve to be here, and let's keep reaching out and finding more people who think this isn't for them.
Yeah.
Community is the place where you can realize that you have the creativity and the skills to do something. Like, I made a joke about maybe I could write a game and no one stopped me. It wasn't just that no one stopped me, it was that people actively encouraged me and helped me because I had community who said, let me see what you've made, like, let me read it. This is really good and you should share it, which was not something I expected to hear. Community is how I learned about how to print things from Steph and Logan. Community is how I met my friends that we run our actual play channel, and we invite more people who are interested in indie games and want to have a go at doing it on camera and using performance skills. We invite them in and say, we'll teach you. Come and play on our streams. We try to be as friendly and as safe and as welcoming as possible, because when we have community, we all can achieve more than we can do individually, and we can find out that we belong here and deserve to be here as much as anybody else.
I sort of like noticed before, I think I've said to someone, so like making RPGs sometimes can feel like you're creating in the dark, like you're not getting an immediate audience feedback. Like you're not going to put something on Inch and then immediately hear a play report. You're quite separated from the process of creation from what the result is. So I do think community spaces, whether that's online spaces, in-person spaces, or even like spaces built around event, are really important for, I guess, essentially validating the fact that you do exist and are doing something.
I think a lot of us as well, the thing that I noticed is, as a hobby, like a lot of us exist on the fringe of what's popular. Like I bet if I asked a lot of people in the room, they would tell me they were a lonely kid growing up, or they were bullied, or their interests were seen as a bit odd. And I think, like, and I think community is finding that you are not weird and your interests are not too much or different, and it's really healing. And I'm very much a proponent of, you don't pull the ladder up behind you, and particularly, like, I'm white, so for me, community, I want that to expand, so I pull the ladder down, and I want to give those opportunities, and I want people to know that, like, it's for everybody. We are all just adults who like to play imagination games, and we can find community and friendships, which as an adult is a really hard thing to cultivate sometimes. But you know, I'm on Discord all the time, chronically online, you know, message, and I'm so happy because I found like my friends, my purpose. It's deep. But it's nice, and I think like that's an aspect of community that gets looked over sometimes, is that it's not lonely. You can reach out, you can learn things from each other. If you have knowledge or you have a skill, share it, because it just makes everything better.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I echo that. Community is about collaboration and respect and creating safe spaces, having that inclusion and that diversity and making it welcome for everyone. And yeah, don't gatekeep, share your secrets, teach people, bring more people into it. It's key. And I think I found, like from a film industry perspective, that it's not always like that. Sometimes you can feel like a small cog in a big wheel and that isn't really apparent, but I feel like I was quite lucky, and Two Black Boys in Paradise specifically, that they were actively trying to bring diverse people onto the film, and there was no ego, which was beautiful, because like our director on that film was like, best idea wins, and that's something I've like taken forward and I carry to every space and try to yeah, include that.
So when we talk about community and we talk about today, we do have something that is AI that could threaten either inherited biases from Gen AI. How does that sort of factor into possibly, or could that factor into threatening representation in the TTRPG space because of Gen AI?
I do feel there's also a risk to communities that essentially comes from a sort of an atmosphere of suspicion, because of people, you know, people have said multiple times, oh, I look at certain art styles differently, and I'm like, ooh, that obviously is a perfect ground for communities to become places that look inward and distrust new people. Be like, oh, I don't know about you, I don't know. And it's like, whoa, shouldn't we be encouraging anyone to start? But it's the fault of Gen I here making this in. I do think like that risk of sort of almost like a poisoned well from, you know, an atmosphere of suspicion can be quite destructive, and it's a byproduct that's less obvious of all of Gen I's consequences, I feel, but I definitely think it's there.
Yeah, I don't love the fact, sorry. I don't love the fact that I have to write when I sell my games that like no AI was used, I did it. My name's already on it, and it annoys me that I now have to say, no, but really it was me. I didn't use the lying plagiarism machine to write this, I did it. It's frustrating, and it's because of that idea, like we have to become suspicious of each other, and it's frustrating. But you mentioned the poison well, Kayla, and one of the things that generative AI is doing is it's poisoning our information sources. And that is so threatening to small creators who are trying to start out in the scene. I want to tell you all an anecdote about a friend of mine who allowed me to share this sort of anonymously. She is somebody who is an immigrant in Europe, who is of East Asian descent, and she was asked to come on a podcast and talk about her experiences, her community, how she's managed to find it being in a new country and as an emergent game designer and TTRPG creative. And she did this podcast, she worked really hard on it, she was really excited to be getting a bit of recognition and being shown, and then it was published, and her name was wrong. It wasn't just misspelled, it was a different name. It was as though, like, if her name was Jen, it was Jane. And then the description, it was a different name, as if Jen had become Jess. And essentially, she said, hey, this isn't my name. We've been emailing back and forth. You spelled my name correctly because you got my emails. And this person said, oh, I'm so sorry. I used the AI helper to proofread all of my stuff, and it must have corrected your name. Now, there is a racialized aspect to that, that she has a Chinese name that is not very common, and it was corrected to two different, more commonly used Chinese names, because the AI thing doesn't think, it's not intelligent, it's a misnomer. It just uses the most common things it's read. And we have to think about how this poisoning of information and the way that it's become mass adopted and people think they're using it to make things better is going to impact marginalized creators, creators from less represented spaces and communities in uniquely terrible ways. It is a grave insult, but it also means that a thing that should have been a celebratory, exciting moment to help her get her name out there became a pain point.
Yeah.
It's not a helper. It's not making things better. It is making things actively worse for the people who need the most help to shine in the community. And yeah, I don't like it, guys.
I am extremely, if anyone who knows me, they know how I feel about AI. I live on my soapbox about it because I think for me, if you can't be bothered to make the thing yourself and go through that creative process that is integral to making something, why should I be bothered to read, consume it? And I've had a few people say to me, oh well, I've used it like just a little bit, and I'm like, cool, that process is tarnished for me, I'm afraid, because creativity, when you come out with something really weird here, is suffering, right? You have to like suffer for your art, you do. It's a gritty process, and what it's done, I think, is made people feel like they can get instant results, and that's good when you push it out. Some of this is to do with capitalism and people wanting to just like sell products quickly. I do understand that. But we're human, like create because you want to, create because you love the thing that you are doing. If you don't love it, why are you doing it? So I have been very disruptive this weekend. Surprise! The AI signs that you hopefully will have seen in the convention are a making between me, Logan, and Matt from Rome Deckard, because we are feisty little activists. And as a consumer, I think I'm now wandering around stores going, do you use AI? Because if you do, I don't want to buy it. So it's a pushback in both ways. As a seller, you know that I don't use AI in my process at all. And as a consumer, you know that I don't. And I think that's the way that we have to deal with this particularly. As an artist, I get worried sometimes when I'm posting art that do I just keep that mistake in there so that people know that a human made it? Now I'm having to think about how my art is being perceived, and I've never given about that before. And then you also mentioned poison well. Let's not forget the ecological impacts, the impacts on third world communities. I know AI has been filtered and trained from people in third world communities, and I'm just it's already terrible. And again, it's a colonialism aspect of what we're doing, and it's horrible that I hate it. If you would like some science, come and find me. I'm in feel free.
Generative, it's destructive, and it needs to just end. I think with the biases, it's dangerous because there are so many harmful tropes, and when you think back to the history of D&D, there's so much sexism and ableism and all the isms there, and it's going to be drawing from all that information when people just decide to tack in these prompts to make art or make stories. So it's really dangerous that you can't have that nuance that you get from being human, and
then is the rise of AI affecting the stories that we tell in the TTRPG space?
Personally, I don't massively think it is, unless you're playing with randoms and you're encountering a lot of randoms. It's not a thing people are bringing to me. I have heard some experiences of people go to con games and find someone who's Gen AI and the vibe is bad. At that point, you can just leave. It's not actually a hostage situation. See some people act like it is, and that's not true. It's just yeah, I mean, maybe it adds this extra standard you have. Realistically, that's just applying a standard that before wasn't there because that was everything. I don't necessarily think it impacts storytelling, except in a way occasionally you may feature someone using that in a story as a villain or whatever. Like it's some extra story fodder in the way phones were, but I don't think it has an impact.
Yeah, I do think that it has an impact because I think that there's a risk of losing authenticity and having a true connection to characters. The more people are using generative AI, I feel like there's nothing better than spending all of that time creating your characters, creating your world, doing things like creating Spotify playlists for your character, all those things that are so inherently human. AI doesn't have empathy, it doesn't have human context. And the chair from BAFTA said that AI is convergent and human creativity is divergent, which I think is like a really good way to sum that up. Like with AI, you can't have those spontaneous moments, those ridiculous moments that then, end up being the core of your campaign. It's a machine, and I think, it's very, very dangerous when it comes to what storytelling can become, especially if, someone decides to put in a transcript of something that exists and then push someone's work out, like the theft of it. There are a lot of factors that I think are really worrying about.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily impacting storytelling in my experience, but it's certainly impacting storytellers in that the stories they have created are now being stolen and remixed and cannibalized and plagiarized into something that was never what they wanted it to be, without any credit, without any sourcing to where it came from. We've had some pretty high-profile cases of writers for publications like the New York Times publishing reviews which turned out to be plagiarized because I just used AI to help. Okay, well it doesn't help you, it just plugs in a bunch of other stuff that was stolen from other places and then remixes it. It's no better at creating than, not that I would ever have done this at university, when you just change the words a bit so that it's like a different essay, and you just don't anywhere. Listen, we're trying to do something creative here, we're trying to make something that didn't exist before. There's these old cliches about, there's nothing new under the sun, everything's a remix, everything's been done before. Not true. Anyone who tells you that is not a creative person. Like, there's always, walk around these halls and talk to people and you will find hundreds of weird little games from people that you're like, I have never heard of something that bizarre before and I love that this exists. None of this will happen with generative AI creation because, as you said, all it does is converge and regurgitate the same kinds of things without attribution to the people who originated those ideas.
I would like to offer a hopeful counterpoint, which is bubbles gonna burst. So it does affect storytelling at the moment, like everyone else has said, it's been cannibalized. But the thing is, I think we're going to reach a point pretty soon where it is eating itself into an Ouroboros, right? And I think what we might actually see from this is that people see that, adopt some discernment, and ignore it completely. I think AI, who's that guy in America? He doesn't narrow it down.
I think that's all the
Sam Altman,
the guy in
fantastic
America.
marketing team. Yeah, that one. Fantastic marketing team because he's got everybody convinced that it's alive and smart and can do all of this stuff. If you have used ChatGPT for longer than 10 minutes, you know that's not true. I had to Google a folk festival that I made at work, and apparently tons of these massive famous bands came to this folk festival. That's great. Not true at all. But from a storytelling perspective, what I want to see is people being brave, and like when people send me work, I like to see mistakes. One, because I know that like it's real, but also because you have an opportunity for growth, and you need to not be frightened of that in the age of AI. You have to be okay with making mistakes. It validates you as a human and a person. And AI, it will destroy your brain. This has been shown with like brain scans and the such. And I think collectively, we kind of curate our circles. I know that if I find somebody using AI, I'm like, cool, let's move on. So at the moment, I don't feel like it's impacting storytelling in a community setting. It is from a creative setting, most definitely, but that bubble will burst.
Would you say that AI is then impacting small creators in space? And if so, how?
Honestly, I'd say if you're thinking of the impact you get from AI on small creators in terms of like, oh, a glutted flood of AI products, how does that affect things? That is an effect, but also that's already the effect that existed with capitalism. It's, if you kill AI tomorrow, it's not like, oh man, all small creators are suddenly like perfectly sustainable living standards. Like, you are always going to be competing with ruling powers trying to drive down their prices in ways you can't. Like, I'm going to say something that will start as inflammatory, and you've got to let me get to the end of the sentence. AI is a tool for the ruling class to lower people's wages. And like, it's just the latest of a tool. It's not a thing that came about in isolation. And like, yeah, the impact on small creators is the way that like capitalism and trying to make your labor, make your art into a product inherently does this. It's amplified by AI, but it's, you know, it's amplified by the way a headache is when you catch a cold. Like, it was already going on.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I worry about is that it's not just like people like us who are creators who are already in the space and have our community. I worry about people who want to start and haven't found that community yet and think that using these tools of capitalism will help them somehow. I worry that they won't go through that process of writing something that isn't great and working on it and editing it and learning and becoming more creative and finding that community because they just default to using this nonsense program instead of engaging fully in the creative process. You hear people say, well, I want to make a game, but I can't draw. And it's like, cool. You don't have to be able to. I can't. I'm very bad at it. That's why I hired Steph. But you know, I've made stuff that was collages. I've cut things out of magazines. And I've used stock art when I had to, as long as you say where you got it from.
I'm an artist.
There are libraries of public domain art that you can use to make artwork, and you can remix it, and you can make it your own, and you can say where you got it from, and that's a lovely thing to learn how to do. And you can practice drawing. I mean, you can. It's no good. But you can practice drawing. You can practice writing. It's a skill, and I worry that small creators, the people who are so small they're just starting, won't learn those skills if they think they have to rely on this stuff to be able to make it or be successful, whatever that means. I'm certainly not making any money doing this.
Were you guys making money?
No!
I think that's where it connects to what I was saying earlier about like that atmosphere of suspicion that creates. Because if it's anything of like, oh, up and coming small creators are not welcomed by new communities because new communities are now inherently suspicious of anyone they've not seen like references for. And then that creates a dynamic where like, oh well, the communities telling me not to do AI are the ones that like are treating me as like as like I've walked into a Target with a trench coat. And you know, that's going to create that impact where they're then taking that in the same way, like, you know, the reason you get door-to-door religious knockers is not with the intention of them converting you. It's that if they get a negative reaction, that will then affirm their beliefs.
Yeah.
And it's like, it can work in that similar way if like this atmosphere of suspicion meets with a community that flat out does not have any kind of, or an industry and a scene that doesn't really have any kind of early opportunities vibes. It is very much a connection-based industry. And that, you know, it could be a perfect storm for some people just getting, taken advantage of and not treated very well.
Yeah, I think a lot of small creators are already overworked and underfunded. So then when all of this AI slop is being produced, there is that pressure to feel like you then have to use those tools to then keep on track and be producing the same amount of stuff. There's a music artist that recently posted a video and she's playing this song, it's amazing on the guitar, and someone put that video through AI, completely copied it and cloned it, and that video is now blown up and getting hundreds of thousands of likes and all this attention. You can tell that it's AI because the fingers are playing on the guitar and it just doesn't make sense in terms of what you're supposed to be hearing. But when things like that happen, people want to give up, and that's a scary thing. And I've had so many people say, like, do you know what, there's no point in me doing this anymore because how can I compete, how can I keep up? So yeah, I think transparency is super important, making sure that it has to be said that when things are AI, because like you can be listening to Spotify and listening to your music and it's recommending you something to listen to, and AI music comes up and it doesn't tell you. So it's like scary that it's just feeding in so much. And I think also like educating people, because there are a lot of people that don't even know what they're seeing is AI. So yeah, educating people to know that it's here and how to kind of deal with that.
I think as a society, particularly as we've all kind of migrated online, there is a lot of like intense knee-jerk reactions that happen, and there's no space for people to learn a lesson, and it is immediately like, well, you're cancelled, or you know, we're done. Like with the big boys and the big companies, yeah, fine, you should know better. But like, I've had a smaller creator come and admit that they use AI. You know, really sorry. I'm like, no, it's okay. You've been honest about it, so great. Now we can start properly. And I would rather take the time to teach you, give you those skills. But I think they were concerned that I was going to come down on them like a ton of bricks and they would be like a social pariah. And I'm like, no, it's like we've all made mistakes. That's what makes us human. And we need to remember that going forward as AI becomes a thing. It's hard sometimes, and we do need to push back, and we do need to, you know, all right, you're not using AI, you're using AI, you're not having my money. But let's not forget the community element. You made a really interesting point about it being a capitalist tool. It absolutely is. It's teaching us, I'm going to say particularly post-COVID, to be very individual. That is also a very Western kind of like viewpoint, you know, this individualism in culture. This is another tool to separate us. You rely on ChatGPT. You don't go out with your friends. You know, I've been out sometimes with people from work who I ask them a question and they're like, one sec. And I'm like, oh my God, talk to me. Like, please. So I think if you're using it, fine, you do you. I need you to understand that it's not good. I can't explain that till I'm blue in the face. But we do all need to be a bit more graceful with each other, particularly in a community setting. Like, people make mistakes, people apologise, give them the room to grow. I feel like we've forgotten how to do that.
Yeah, it's also definitely a thing we're like talking about. It's like there's a massive marketing campaign behind this.
Yeah.
If you are someone who is new to an artistic scene, having never created before, you are not going to have seen any of these conversations. If the result of you going like, oh, I've heard this is really helpful, and you know nothing, and you use it for an image, but then you're on a block list and you are always uninvited from events forever, which I'm going to throw it out there. This is a community, a scene, an industry that would do that to people.
Yeah.
Like, that is a risk, and it will happen within the next couple of years, easily.
I want to just like say that cancel culture isn't real in the sense of how it's talked about, which is extremely powerful white men being, I'm cancelled! Look, I can hear you complaining about it, you're not that cancelled, are you, sweetheart? But what can happen is marginalised people, emergent people, people who are new and are trying something, becoming, you know, stamped down on by a group of people who have a set opinion about something and haven't learned. So, you know, I think we can, it's fun to shout, fuck generative AI, but we also need to have these conversations with empathy and hope that we can actually teach people, hey, if you're using this, here's why it's not a great idea, and there are other tools, there is a community here, we can support you to use your own brain. You were born with this miracle inside of your own skull. The brain that is you, that is the only one in the entire universe that is you.
You guys are getting brains.
And you don't. You have one, it's in there. I believe in it. And you don't need to burn down the world to avoid using it.
I will.
Because it's you. No?
Right, so how can we help lift people and women up in the TTRPG space as either somebody who's working in the space or as somebody who might be sitting in the audience?
Resist generative AI. And when I say that, I'm talking in a more societal sense rather than individual creators. We've talked about how it's a tool of capitalism. Many of us sadly have day jobs where the mass adoption of generative AI is becoming a more and more common thing. And stay with me, because you may wonder, like, well, how is that related to women specifically? Well, because the mass adoption of generative AI is a workers' rights issue. We live under patriarchal capitalism. Workers' rights issues are women's rights issues. We have a gender pay gap. We have a racial pay gap. We have an unconscionable disability pay gap in this country. All of us have to live under capitalism, but marginalized people do not have equal access to that capital. And the people who do have access to capital are pushing generative AI into every little corner of our society, and they are trying to make it even harder for the rest of us to access capital and have a more equitable future. So I would really love to encourage everybody to take a minute after this panel, here's your homework, and think about a way that you can resist AI actively beyond just hating it quietly. Whether that is in your workplace, pushing back and saying, hey, why are we doing it this way? I can do it better myself. Whether that is organizing with your workers, whether that is contacting your union representative and saying, what's the stance of our union on AI? And if you don't have a union representative, join a union.
Join a union.
And whether that's in your personal life, talking to your friends and having those educational, empathetic conversations about why you don't want to be using generative AI. We don't just have to hate it, we can actively push back against it, infecting our society and making it even harder for workers, not just here, but we've already touched upon how in less socially and economically developed countries, data labeling is a horrifically underpaid and exploitative part of the AI machine. We can resist these things, and by doing that, you are simultaneously uplifting women and all marginalized people who, under patriarchal capitalism, do not have equal opportunities as long as this shit exists. Yeah.
I think one thing that is useful, I guess, to both keep an eye out if you are trying to be someone uplifting women, but also like being cautious of people who are trying to help you. Sometimes you will ask for advice and someone will instead try and give you help. And that can be this well thought out thing, but in fact, the way they're doing that is they're refusing to teach you the tools to be independent, and they're creating a situation where to do this, you're reliant on this person as your source. And so I think it's definitely a thing. If someone is coming to you for advice and you're thinking, oh, I'll just do that for you, like, actually hold up and go, like, they came to you for advice, why do they want that? If they're like, I'm really struggling with something I don't understand and they're asking for help, give help. But like, part of lifting people up is trying to see them as equals rather than going like, oh, I'm the expert, I can help people, they can do nothing for me. Like, lifting women up isn't something you do to get yourself a pat on the back and a congratulations. You're supposed to do it because you care, and that means not approaching it from this patronizing direction as like, oh, it's time for me to help all the little ladies. Like, so like, that's definitely a thing. Like, be cautious of when is advice best, when is help best, when is help unwanted, when is help gonna hold someone back, and when is your ideas around I'm lifting this person up refusing to allow you to see them as an independent, capable person.
I think it's important to support artists and credit creators and buy indie games and shout from the rooftops and support women. I think it's also really important to ask outside of your sphere. Like, if you have an event or you're hosting a panel, there are people that you can contact that will know women. So, like, if you want a panel about women games, there's an organisation called Women in Games. So you can contact them and say, who can I get on the panel? Same with like Animated Women UK, there's all these factions that you can reach out to, because usually when events and things are being held, white men are the first to put their hands up. And sometimes women aren't as forthcoming and don't have that audacity, so you need to create those spaces and have them open and bring people in to the forefront.
Yeah, it's not good enough to have an open call and be like, anyone can apply. It's like, you know who you're going to get from that.
It's funny actually, that leads into kind of what I was going to say, which is have the confidence of a mediocre white man, which is a lesson I've had to learn. But also, like, I was asked on this panel, like, will you come on, be my token white person? And I was like, yes, I will. Because we have access that marginalised creators just don't. And like, it's all very well and good sitting there and saying that I'm here for marginalised creators. I need you to be in the community doing that. I need to see you like bringing people onto projects, even though it might not be commercially great for you. I need people to be in their community. Like, it's all very well and good sitting online and supporting causes, but you actually have to do the work in the community to affect the change. I think we have become very moralistic, which is fine. Morals are very important, but you have to have action behind that. And the other point is, learn to be uncomfortable. I think in a modern society, we've grown to be used to just not being inconvenienced, right? Amazon next day delivery, generative AI giving me what I need immediately. People's skills and comfort levels with kind of experiencing like any kind of pushback, and it's really lessened off. And I think like I've seen it a few times with, I'm going to say, men in the community, where they will come to me with an idea, I will mildly push back, and all of the teddies go flying. I've seen it with white women. There's that saying online, white women tears, right? Like, you're not being attacked, bestie, you're fine. Like, please be open to a bit of criticism. You're going to make mistakes, we're all going to make mistakes, that's fine. Please remember that we are human and we have that space to grow. And you have to meet people and come to events like this and expand your horizons and learn. That you were saying about like people getting turned off because they've been judged technically. Like, just give people a bit of grace. And connect again. I think as humanity we've learned to kind of grow apart, and I'm really hoping that AI, for all the evil it is doing, will also do some good in bringing us back together as well.
I want to add as well that it's so important, if you have any kind of platform, if you have any kind of space, then you can think about how you can use that platform to uplift and elevate others by lending them a fraction of your visibility.
Yep.
I have a zine that I made that is on 2 tables. I could not afford to buy my own table at UKGE, but 2 people, UK Tin, shout out to them, and Patchwork Fair's Sarah, both gave me space on their tables to have my zine out there. People can do this. They can use their platform of what they have, what little things they have, to make space for others and put that ladder down like you spoke about. At Euphoria Actual Plays, we are behind the scenes, we're all femme-led and we're majority POC-led, and we make sure that it's not just about representation and visibility, but decision-making involves everybody that we're trying to uplift. We had 70 different performers on our channel last year, and 40 of them were POC. So I don't want to hear anything about how it's hard to find people of different diverse backgrounds in this scene. I don't want to hear about how, well, we made an open call and we only got white people. Well, then go and talk to some people and let them know that you exist, and be willing to hear that lesson and have that pushback. And, you know, if you're making an AP that's a bunch of white people, consider gently getting your shit together. It's such a diverse and exciting scene, TTRPGs. And if you're only seeing one tiny sliver of it, well, clearly none of you are, because hey, you're here. Go out and share that with the world. Give your chance to like talk about other people, and go and look at these tables like UK Tin that have such a wide range of different games on there. Find out who all these creators are, and then go and look them up and find out who they're talking about, and then go and talk about them too. And you will find all of these people that you didn't know about if you just do the work of going and looking and chatting to people. We're all here and it's really cool. And if you don't experience that side of the scene, then you're missing out. Why would you want to not see that side of the scene? It rules.
Yeah.
It's great.
Let's make sure that our AI isn't leaving everybody behind.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Very quickly, what advice would you give any women or person in the audience today if they wanted to get into the industry to make what you do?
Do it. Be brave. Be so brave. It's fine. It won't kill you, I promise. There's a film I think called like We Bought a Zoo, and my dad quotes it to me all the time. It's like 10 seconds of insane courage. This is a very supportive community than it was 10 years ago. I'm always available. I'm sure there are a lot of people on the panel that are always available. If you're just starting out, come and have a chat. Just be brave. Make mistakes. Be at peace with it. Pull the ladder all the way down and support people as you move up the ladder.
Yeah. Remember that success does not have to be measured by capitalist yardsticks. If you want to get into the TTRPG industry, that doesn't have to mean that you have a best-selling, any-winning game the first time you try. I thought it would happen, and it didn't. But you can be creating something. It is free to list something on itch.io or one of those other websites. You can write a game. You can put it online. You can show it to your friends. If you want to try writing your own adventure module, you can do that. You can put it online. If you want to try doing actual play, you can reach out to channels that have open castings and apply to those castings, and you can speak to the community and start to build that. Not from I don't like the word networking because I think people think it's very cold and corporate, but you are building a network when you speak to people and just put your work out there. Don't necessarily expect that success is going to be measured in dollar bills, because I'm still waiting. But success can be in the form of finding a space that is lovely and welcoming, and not only you having your creation seen, but also getting to see so many other incredible creations. So yeah, if you're wanting to have a go at doing the kind of stuff that we all do it. And then reach out to us and say, hey, I made this thing, and I'll be so excited to see the thing you made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say just start, do it. You don't need to be perfect. That little imposter syndrome demon voice might be in your mind telling you that you're not ready yet, or you're not at that stage. And I had that myself before doing Mystic Muses. When Asta approached me, like a lot of people at the table have been playing 10 plus years, pretty much every day, seasoned veterans, and I was like, oh, am I ready to do this? Should I be a part of this? Am I talented enough? All those voices, all that stuff going around. But doing it was the best decision I ever made, and I learned so much on that journey, and I'm excited for all the other APs that I can join in the future, and creating such an amazing community. So I think just jump in the deep end, just dive in, get started, follow your passion, and yeah, networking. It is important, meeting people, talking to people, gaining opportunities, doing your admin, emailing. If someone messages you, get back to them, so that you can keep that ball running and rolling for those opportunities.
I think I'd say I can go two pieces that sort of tie together. I think one is like, maybe it's, I was going to say it's a low expectations thing, but like generally, but actually I think more than that, it's sort of about, you know, making sure your self-worth isn't tied to whatever you're trying to make or be in TTRPGs. I see some people who are like so stressed, like working in TTRPGs is like working in a hospital, and it's not. It's only is if you're putting all of your self-worth into it. The first time I ran a Kickstarter, someone was like, how are you feeling about it? And I was like, I'd like it to do well, obviously, but I innately understand that if it fails, that doesn't actually say anything about the quality of the game. And by the inverse coin, if it's a runaway success, that also actually doesn't say that much about the game. It sort of says something about luck and marketing. I know I have worth as I am alive, and that's actually all that really matters. I don't need to be like, I want an award, I've sold X many games, you know, X, Y, Z people bought this, and that means I matter. Like, if you're going into RPGs that you're gonna, I think, have a bad time. And then the other thing I was just thinking is, I think it's a nice counterpoint to the thing of just start. It's also like, just finish. Like, the first thing I did was a document I made up in Word with some shitty vector images matched together and then printed as a PDF. So the next three things I did wrong were I look back at all my early layout and go, it's terrible, but it was done and it was out there and people could see it. And you know, that is the thing that made, like, at the moment you've done that, you're there. You are in TTRPGs at that point. You know, no one can actually take that away from you. But you do just need to sort of, after starting, the next thing is always just cross that line.
Yeah, I agree. And once you've crossed that line, regardless of the outcome and how good it is, just be kind to yourself and celebrate the fact that you did finish, because that is amazing in itself, and you're going to keep learning, you're going to keep growing, and that is really important.
Right, thank you, our panelists. Would you like to plug anything and remind people who you are, where they can find you?
I am Steph. You can follow me on Blue Sky, where I do a lot of shit posting. Instagram under Fiscal Crits. I'm very approachable, just come have a chat. I'm in Hall 3 today. 3? Yeah, 3. 261. Fiscal Crits.
621.
621. It's been a long week.
Okay, you're 3621.
Hey, see, look, help. Yeah, I love to meet people in the community. I love to offer help where I can. Come and chat to me. I have nothing to plug other than, I have a Romantasy TTRPG jam going on at the moment till August. Come and make freaky little games with me. Totally free. Just want people, particularly people who are wanting to try TTRPGs, come in and make something with us. It'll be fun.
Yeah, hi, I'm still Michelle Kelly. You can follow me at Michellecopter on various socials. If you're interested in my games for some reason, because they're good, that's the reason, then they're online at michellecopter.itch.io. And one of my games, my solo game, Lie to Him, is available on 2 stands, as I mentioned. UK Tin is Hall 3, Table 510, and Patchwork Fest is Hall 4, Table 912. Both of those tables have loads and loads of amazing games by indie creators that you should definitely check out as well. And I also, of course, have to plug EU4 Actual Plays. We're amazing. We make content. We make content featuring as much as we can indie TTRPGs from the European and UK scenes and performers from those scenes with diversity at its forefront. We also have a Discord server where you can come in and chat with other TTRPG fans. People is wild in there.
We talk about food a lot.
It's a lot of talking about food. It's a lot of debating different, like, what's the best kind of pancake? Is it the Dutch pancake, or is it the crepe, or is it? It's a lot of that, but there's also a lot of TTRPG chat and a lot of supportive people who want to help each other out and learn about the scene and learn about making games. So check out EU4 Actual Plays as well. We'd love to see you there.
And I'm Danii. You can find me on Instagram, which is Danii__Squishy. I'm also going to plug Mystic Muses, which is a diverse, queer, femme-presenting table, which you can find everywhere that you listen to your podcasts. And also going to plug Two Black Boys in Paradise, which is available to stream on Channel 4 till October. There's also some BTS available online. It's an incredible story, it's queer, it focuses on self-acceptance and love, and these 2 black gay men that do that and manage to find themselves in a paradise that's free from any judgment, and it's stop-motion animation, it's really cool.
I've been Kayla Dice, and I've just remembered, but in terms of how you can support women, you can go to Hall 3128 and you can spend a cold grand at my store. No, it's like, come to my store. I've got 4 great paperback titles on offer: Psycho Dungeon, a modern cosmopolitan theme; The Gallant and Virtuous, which is a game about jousting, and 2 anthologies of different things. You can follow me on all social media at RatWaveKayla. And I think that's all to say. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you to our audience. Any last minute things we need to say? This was done by Women of TTRPG. We will hopefully be here next year too. Maybe with a bigger one.
5-year plan, the entire convention is just
This video will be on YouTube available, so if anyone missed it, you can find it there on Women of TTRPG YouTube. I have been Lyssa, your host. These have been our wonderful panelists, and to end with something we said last year, women!